So, Nazura, you've been in the industry close to 19 years, I would say. Do you want to share with us the challenges that you've encountered throughout these 19 years?
Right. Okay. I think speaking of challenges, definitely there's always challenges from day one. I think in a way, I shared with you just now on the success, right? Like from 500 getting 150k, whatnot. I think that's the highest, the story, the highlight story that always people would love to share. But I think getting there is something that most people will just keep it close to their hearts. I think one of the things that I would say that our challenges, challenges during Manggis time. I think perhaps I can share with you from Manggis, how did we come Celebrate TV first. So when we started off, we had our sort of victory, and we were happy being Manggis, the top wedding videographer in Malaysia and whatnot. I think what we question ourselves is that what's next? Is that it? What's next? So then we said that obviously when we do wedding videos, our work is being appreciated by the family, the guests, there, and so we started questioning ourselves: what if we can touch more life? What if we can do more good from our passion, telling stories? So that's where we started off Celebrate TV, whereby we create contents. For broadcast. So we did content for. We started off with the first thing that we did, which we created Raikan Cinta, which is a wedding show on Astro Ria. So that's our first content on TV. So we started off with something that we know best, which is wedding. So Raikan Cinta, Alhamdulillah, it runs for about 6 seasons, Raikan Cinta, and then we work for Destinasi Cinta. We've worked with AirAsia. It's a travelogue, and after that, we've served from local stations, TV3, Astro, most of Astro channels, and also History Channel, Lifetime, Life Inspired. So we've worked on that. I think the first struggle that we encounter is actually how did we transform from wedding to become a content creator for broadcast, because it's a pretty I wouldn't say big jump. It's a shift. It's a shift. So we started off trying to figure out learning from scratch, because we are not broadcast student. We are not we are not trained for broadcast. So we started off learning from ground, and I think the most important lesson is that you can never be in your comfort zone. Although at that time we were getting quite a good income for ourselves, but we felt that we can do more than this, and yet you just have to bring yourself down and learn from scratch, learn from people, read, go search. I attended, and then at that time I went for a short courses in New York for producing, because I said that I had never background in TV production and whatnot. So I went there with the help of MDEC. So I went there. I leave my 3 children here. Alhamdulillah, I have a great supporting husband. So I left my 3 kids and went there and had my diploma in producing for TV and film from New York Film Academy. So that is something that the first challenges, I think, as a person, that how would you be able to grow is only for you to move outside of your comfort zone. Whereby at that time, I think we can pretty much say that okay lah, cukup lah. But we said that let's do more. And I think in terms of the company, Fariz can share.
I would say that as SMEs, the major problem would be about managing our finance, making sure that there's a sustainability factor in SMEs, as well as on the human resources. So the same problem that being faced by big conglomerate companies too, whereby we need to make sure that at the end of the day, we would have money to pay for the salary. We need to have money to pay for our necessities and so on. So, I mean, based on the experience that alhamdulillah I gathered from my previous life, so with Manggis Group we somehow break it down into smaller things. I mean, as you ask me what would be the major problem, I would say that managing cash flow. Most of the businesses, most of the SMEs, they would struggle to find the right balance. I mean, at the end of the day, as entrepreneur, you need to know how to read your cash flow statement. As an entrepreneur, you also need to know that you need to have a reserve. And also as an entrepreneur, I mean, this is talking about cash, and also as an entrepreneur, you need to also mention that at the end of the day, you need to have something for the future, whether to reinvest, whether to issue as a dividend and so on. So, I mean, whenever that we have our management meetings, the focus would be about what would be your 6-month cash flow forecast. I mean, what would be the metrics or the KPI that you have achieved so far? So all of it boils down to managing financials. Second things that I mentioned to you just now is about the sustainability. So looking at the sustainability factor, I mean, most of the company would also think that they are a project basis, whereby life itself is a marathon. So whenever you envision that you want to be there for a longer period of time, you would make sure that you would be maintaining your pace. I mean, in terms of operations, making sure that your capacity can also cover the demand from the client, making sure that, I mean, whenever that you have a huge number of people coming in, you would have a proper documentation for the HR and so on. So sustainability is always the factor that all people always miss it. I mean, one of the things that we ensure, I mean, when we talk to our subsidiaries, whenever that they want to make sure that they want to go forward, it's all about what would be the next quarter plan for them. So it's all about the planning, so that you know you can sustain the company. And I think that would be it, because businesses always have ups and downs. I mean, in terms of the market push, the market pull. So at the end of the day, whenever that you have problems, don't worry, you are not alone.
Okay, I think the key word here is to have a proper planning, even at personal level and also at the venture level. But I don't know how, no matter how hard you try to plan, with COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure it hit your venture like any other venture out there, and we know that creative industry is one of the hardest hit by this pandemic. So what were your challenges, and how did you manage to work around it?
Right. So I think nobody expected that 2020 going to be how we are today, right? Yeah. So I think we had our retreat for our business plan for this year, which is we had last year, Q4 last year, and we were talking, we pretty ambitious of 2020, So 2020, like those days when I was small, when I was standard 6, I wrote my karangan that there will be kereta terbang lah, everything,
Wawasan 2020.
Wawasan 2020, right? So of all and this pandemic hit us. But I think, of course, we are all, were shocked, But I think it took us a week of that shocking period. So we took off our 1 week, and we were like, oh gosh, is this really happening? Like, lockdown, obviously no shooting, because basically on our end is shooting and whatnot, kan? So on our tourism, our villa in Bali, it's also closed. So we took up 1 week to actually just to calm down, pause, and then after 1 week, then we said, okay, tak boleh jadi ni, let's do it, because we don't know until when is this. It will continue, so we wouldn't know. So what we did was that, of course, at that time, most of like all of us are working from home. So what we started to introduce MCO workflow. So we had every day.
Monday.com.
Yeah, we had Monday.com, which is a cloud-based project management. So whereby all our team members will actually update their work progress, everything on Monday.com. And we had a weekly meeting so that of course, we know that everybody is at home doing their work and whatnot, but I think it's still important for us to be connected to each other, especially during MCO. You're at home, you can't go out, it's pretty depressing, and I guess it's quite enlightening when you get to see your friend, when you get to see your colleague. So giving that moral support as well to our team members. I think one of the things, the important thing, when the PM announced or the MCO, right? So we had this management meeting. So, and I think I was much more an executive person. So I'm an operation person. So I execute things and whatnot. So I'm much more thinking of, okay, how do we do this? How do we, execute the things that we have planned, which unlikely no lah kan. But Fariz came in and said, let's see our cash flow. And it hit me. It hit me because that is exactly what most of, all of us need to do. Like, let's look at our cash flow. How much can we survive and understand better of our company status or condition of. I think from then on we plan better, we manage better, and those are the steps. You want to add more on that?
I mean, the challenge on that, from a creative point of view, creative industry itself is deeply impacted. Most of us, I would say in the broadcast world, almost about close to 1 million people are in this industry. And this industry, majority of them are in gig economy, whereby everybody are work on their own as a freelancer and so on. So as a freelancer, you basically get paid after you deliver your task. So whenever that you are not retention basis, like a normal employee, so it would affect your normal kind of salary and so on. So how do you survive with that? From a standpoint of business, I always discuss with Nazura. Say that whatever that we do, we need to have a proper plan on it, regardless whether it's kind of this kind of pandemic whereby you don't know what happened next. Looking at the business, I would say that the one in Bali, for example, is deeply impacted. For the past 5 months, there's no income at all. For company in production related, there's no income coming for the following 3 consecutive months. So how do we survive if we don't have reserve? And looking into a planning part, whereby it's also important to have that reserve. It's also important to work along with the execution team to make sure that whatever that we plan is being executed well. And of course, from a standpoint of the planner, you need also to be realistic instead of planning like everything going to be okay very soon.